I think it helped working with Walter. I don't know if you know that Walter Afanasieff was the main producer on this album. And I think when I found out that I was going to be working with him, I was like, oh, this is it. This is my time to really showcase what I can do. And also I had done so many different projects up into this windows of time. I did a Chris Brown EP, and working with a big writing camp with like 10 guys in a room, to working with Ryan Tedder and his guys, and so I've gotten the chance to work with some pretty heavy hitter writers, but to be able to really showcase my voice in a unique way without any influence was really was just, I don't know, it broke a lot of ice for me, that I was just being able to just put a pencil to these musical arrangements that we've been working on for, a couple months, of just him writing on the piano and me singing melodies, and that going back and forth for hours every day for months. And then to have this, I think we narrowed it down to maybe 20 ideas that were as some of these songs are 5-6 minute arrangements. Mm-hmm. And I had a clean palette to just basically say, all right, let's go. So I had this amazing opportunity. It was a couple summers ago in Croatia, to take this body of work and to immerse myself in it. And that's what I did. I just every day just kind of put my phone away, just literally studied old, I was reading old poems from the early 1900s, and I was collecting my favorite phrases, and just obviously, when windows of time can also be like a window in time. And that's truly what it was for me, was where I was mentally, spiritually. I mean, I just became a father as of recent as well. So I have this kind of whole new wave in my life that's amazing, and channeling all that right into the music. So yeah, more or less, I think the title says it all.
So I guess we've started the show.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know. Yeah, we're
we usually do an intro.
There's no warm up phase here.
I hit record, so we got all of that. We got all of that. That beautiful BTS explanation of the background.
I want to. You got the behind the.
Yeah. So yes, hello, it's Jordan and Demi. It's Real with Jordan and Demi. In LA, it's Jordan Edwards. In New York, Demi Ramos. Today, we've got Asher Monroe, singer-songwriter, actor, and as of late, Real Housewives guest co-star. So let's get back.
And father.
Yeah, and father, of course.
Can't forget that.
Yeah, can't forget that. And we Asher, we went into you obviously went into the background of the album a little bit, quite a bit actually. One thing that stood out to me about this album compared to some of your previous music is how, first of all, the piano is so present in this and on this album. The piano is just always there, and you've received praise from Sir Elton John for he singled out the song "Midnight Masquerade" on this album, and it's different than some of your EDM dance pop kind of songs that you've done in the past. So. Talk about, you talked about putting it together in terms of the song, but getting that kind of piano ballady sound, where did that come from?
Yeah, again, I without going too far back, I always knew, it's interesting. When I first started writing in my early 20s, actually was, I'll give him cred here. His name was Alon Leviton, and he actually wrote the song Try that I did in the movie Fame. And he was, I guess, one of my first real writing partners that I had, that showed me not only, Asher, can you play piano, but you can also really write. And I was kind of coming out of a band signed to Warner where I didn't write my own material. I was just all these Cara DiGuardi, all these big name writers, Diane Warren, they were writing material for us. So to kind of start that journey, that musical journey of finding your voice, going experimenting through sounds. That's truly what my early 20s was what do I like at that moment? And I did. I liked, maybe that's why I ended up working with Chris Brown, because I liked a lot of that type of music. Mm-hmm. But when I'd write songs on the side, I think people in my inner circle were like, you wrote that? That was pretty deep, Asher. And I was like, so I guess to me, it was there was this old soul that I've always had in me, that you can go deeper. and you're just not tapping into it yet. But again, maturity wise, where I was, I just wasn't really willing to go full on in that lane quite yet, because I was writing some really early beautiful songs that, I mean, I could still tell you to this day, I still like, I just don't know why I wasn't in the mental space to write that. So again, as I was progressing, channeling, trying these different sounds, working with all these different people, tapping in, you know, and also it's your what's the word for it? You're sharpening your skills. And I think for me, being in the studio, writing, recording, engineering, all that stuff was all sharpening the skills. And I guess I just always knew that piano for me really showcased my vocals in a way that other tracks or produced things didn't. And I was told that, you know, you get praise and you get criticism. The criticism would have been that, well, Asher, you're clouding yourself in too much production, or your vocals, which we can hear, aren't shining through. And so when I would do piano ballads per se, people really resonated with that. And I was like, well, I need to tap into that more. And so, you know, as the years was going on and trialing out different methods, I think that's what I kind of fell on, was like, all right, well, I've been a vocalist at heart my whole life, you know, starting from Broadway days to all the other things that I've done, to then now writing my own material. How can I find my lane? And so I feel like with this album, it was definitely that. I was tapping into what I always knew, but that I was finally honing in on. And so I'm glad to have showcased my writing ability, my vocal ability, the way that I feel like it is accurately portrayed in this album.
It's also like, you know, it's also very vulnerable for artists to like release bodies of work or even just singles that are just like straight facts, you know, like things happened. What was going through your head the night that this album was going to come out? Like when it was going to be midnight, you know, where you kind of, oh my God, like I'm putting everything on the table in these lyrics.
By the actual time, the day that I was releasing it, all that anxiety was already gone. But everything up into that point, it's weird how the process behind showcasing your art to the world, you know, you do get butterflies, of course. And I probably wished I had released the album a little bit even earlier than I did. But I also wanted to parlay it with other things that were going on, and to really, at the end of the day, you know, I am doing this independent, so I have to think a little bit different about how I release material, because I want as many eyeballs and ears as I can on it, because again, I don't have that giant main stage that some of these majors have to play with. But again, I'm actually really enjoyed it, because I've actually been able to have my own voice, and I set my own schedules, and I get to do and release things when I want to. And so it was time. I was really, really ready for this body of work to come out and showcase to the world again, just a new sound. I think a lot of my fans were really surprised by like what you were tapping on, is like how deep I went with some of these songs. Because again, for me, I still can't, like Story of a Bird and some of these songs, I still like, I'm still in shock that I was even behind some of these songs in terms of just where I was. And I had a lot of crazy premonitions and weird things happening while the songs were being written. And yeah, it's like this buildup of something in you that you're like, finally, when you release it, you can breathe. You can say, you know, and I actually wasn't even ready to start new writing material as well. I was like, before I need to get this out before I can really engross into new stuff. And so you are actually, in a way, you trap yourself as an artist by not releasing. My old way of doing it is I'd used to write a song and I'd hold on to it for years before I'd release it. And I'm trying to get with a new method of just, when you do something, just put something out, you know, and it doesn't have to be like the whole game, what it is now, which is just, you know, quantity over quality. I still want to put out quality work, but at the same time, I don't want to hold on to it as long as I used to, because I really feel like it prohibits me from growing into what I'm currently in the moment. Like right now, I'm writing songs every day. I'm sitting down at the piano. I'm hashing out ideas, working with new people, and it's that muscle you don't allow yourself to do if you're holding on to all this stuff. It's mine. It's like in my playlist. No one else has heard it.
It's like what the reason why I guess maybe you write the song is kind of has that it's past. Like maybe you don't feel as connected to the song anymore. You know what I'm saying? If you sit on it for too long.
I have, yeah. I think I've had that. I've had both sides of the coin. I've had songs where I've held on to it so long that by the time I actually released it, I was over it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had songs like the ones that I did on this album. And I personally, I hope, I'm knock on wood, I hope in 5-10 years time, I can still look back, because I still do, and really be proud of the work that I did. And so I want to be at that level where every time I put something out, it can feel almost in a way timeless. And that was the one good thing I would say about this album, is I was not chasing radio trends. I was not trying.
No, this is like an anti-TikTok album. You have 8 songs. A lot of them are 4 to 6 minutes long, you know, because now the thing is TikTok, like 2-minute long song, get the hook, get the chorus, you're out, you know? And
yeah, and honestly, I didn't even know where I was going to be. I still don't. My life is so upended sometimes that I thought I was going to be in London doing West End. I'll be generally honest with you. That's where I thought I was planting my roots in this last period of time, you know, but I was traveling a lot. We were doing this. Then Diana took the show, and then we're like, oh, we're going back to LA. We just left LA. I thought that was my last chapter. And now I'm, you know, so, and so I'm constantly moving and I like it. I like that stimulation. I've always been in that mode of traveling. Even the song on the album, Wanderlust, that is truly my zeal for travel. I love discovering new places. I love meeting new people. I love cultures. I'm a foodie at heart. I love to just see new places and explore. So, and that's also part of my inspiration. Every time I travel, I always come back with new inspiration, and I channel that usually into my work and my music. So I feel like all of that helps. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can't control life all the time. You have to let it go and ride the wave.
You mentioned, you know, you've been on Real Housewives, Beverly Hills. And what's confusing me, Asher, we can cut this out, is that on your press materials, it says you guys are married. In the Bravo stuff, it says you guys are engaged. So what are we going with?
You know, I'll be straight out honest. I've been with Diana for 12 years.
Yeah, I know you guys have been around together for a while.
This is not a new relationship. We've been together. We have now our first child together. I would say we're more married at heart than officially on paper.
Gotcha.
If that's a better way to say it. Like, I'm with this woman. Like, there's no other, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's the thing. Everyone has their way of going about it. You know, I could flash a ring on my finger and say, oh, it's official, but there, you know, it's just, you know, in your heart when it's official, and I don't need a government to tell me that it is. And that might be, people look at it and be like, whoa, that's what, you know, that's how you do it. But
it's funny.
Me, I might do that one day. I might have an official wedding. I might do it, you know, like how we've dreamt maybe in Croatia, where we love to go every other summer, you know, and do an old school, like, you know, we've actually talked about places that we could do it. I have a joke about, you know, me actually proposing to her. It was like, I was every year, it was always going to be, oh, this is the year. I'm going to do it this year. And I always wanted something really amazing to happen. I actually have a funny Sherry to stare. I think we were in South America, and we were going through this like fire pit zip line. And I was like, yeah, this is the epic moment. I actually had the ring in my pocket. Oh, and I was like, I yelled it to her when we went through this giant fire pit flame, and she didn't hear it. And I was like, oh, maybe I should take that back and try again. And she didn't actually hear me say it. She was so in like the zone of what was going on. And so I was like, I'm going to wait. That didn't really work. That didn't fly out too well. So
it was better than doing it on the Jumbotron at a baseball game.
Huh?
It's better than doing it on a Jumbotron at a baseball game.
Yeah. I was like, all right, try again. Get back to the books. So no, look, like I said, that's the best I can share with where that's at. I think fiance is a nice term, because it is pretty much close to what it is. It's like any minute now we'll probably pick a place.
It's funny though, because it sounds recent. When I think of fiance, I think of like, oh, you guys have been, it's a recent within the last 6 months or something. It's kind of, you know,
I'll say it's better than boyfriend, because boyfriend also sounds like something really new. Like, oh, this is boyfriend.
Well, especially, you know, a lot of people, maybe not know you, you're coming into the Real Housewives arena. Some people may not be as familiar with you. And if you come across as a boyfriend, it almost feels temporary or something.
Well, temporary or just met, or it doesn't feel as official as like, you know, again, how long I've been with her and that we have a child together. So it's like, I felt like it's an appropriate term and we kind of went with it. And I think that was Bravo's decision. Honestly, I don't even think that we chose that. So
yeah. Sometimes that's how that goes.
It is what it is. Cover art for Windows of Time. And honestly, this is trippy. Like it's trippy art. Can you tell me like the concept behind this and how, I mean, was it one of those things that you just nailed it right away? Like the first thing they sent to you or, you know, whoever you were working with?
Yeah. No, it's cool that you're asking about it. A lot, you know, I work with a lot of different type of artists and, I'm really into surrealism art,
like fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy, juxtaposing things. Like I was actually, people probably don't know this about me as well, but like I would say for fun as a hobby, I wouldn't do it for work. I'm pretty good interior designer. And a lot of the homes that we've lived in over the years, I really enjoy making things from scratch. Putting art in weird places and doing different things. And so there was a home that I used to, I did a lot of work at, and one of the pieces of art was this floating rose, and it was kind of like over this landscape. And I think in the last number of years, that type of style of art has really, there's just something that draws me towards it. And I guess I was lucky with one of the artists that I was working with, was because I had already just finished the XR show. That's a whole other thing that I'm happy to talk about if you guys want to jump into that. But that is also very surrealist, very immersive, very out there universes. And I felt like it tied in with the whole album. And so I just said, look, these are the type of symbols and themes that are kind of big throughout the album. And I want to put this all together. It's almost like if somebody's like, you know, designing their own tattoo, they have like all these things that they want to do. And then the artist says, well, here's my design. That's kind of more or less what I said. It's like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. You know, so I'm very hands-on with all of the work, everything that I ever put out. And I just, it blew me away when he sent it to me. I think I got chills up my.
It kind of looks like Salvador Dali meets like 70s psychedelic is kind of like.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I love that. Again, I think for anyone that knows the album, and I wanted this to be like a listening experience. And I think it's like, it's interesting. I heard like an interview with Adele recently just about or I think it was Adele or Beyonce, one of the two, just about the lost arm of artists really like pouring into an album and the experience of sitting down and listening to a body of work from start to finish. And that's truly really what I wanted to tap into. You know,
there's a lot of people who don't do albums for a long time. They'll wait 7-8 years before they actually.
Yeah, well, that's how they used to do it. Like bands would go away for a few years, they'd work on an album, and then they'd make a big splash, and then they'd go on tour, and that was the old school way of doing it. So it's changed a little bit in this day and age, right, with music, because people just want content. They just want something out there, and so you kind of have to keep feeding the machine a little bit. But and it is hard for artists to go back that far and just, you know, unless you really have a proper team set up where you know everything. But for me, that's kind of how it's worked, is like, you know, I tease a little bit here and there, but I'm trying to be probably doing more of that approach, is just like kind of getting to the drawing board, so that each time I do come with something, it's like, whoa, I didn't expect that. I'd much rather have that than be like, oh, he's doing this again. Oh, I've heard that, you know? So I like the challenge. I like that. But the album cover really, I mean, I accurately speaks to what I think the whole picture of this whole project is, and actually what's to come with the XR show. I think it really showcases the whole thing, I think personally, very well.
Speaking of Adele, I heard, what's up, Jordan?
No, go ahead.
Well, you guys, I heard this like segment, of an interview. I think I was just scrolling, and she was talking about like music turnover, single versus album, and like TikTok culture, which we wouldn't have been talking about recently. Is just like nowadays it feels like a lot of, you know, artists signed with like major labels are being kind of pushed to put out music that maybe, you know, the chorus is in the first 10 seconds just to get that out there as soon as possible. And one of the things she said, which is interesting, was she's like, I don't want to make music for TikTok. She's like,
Mhm.
music. She's like, I'm 30, or I think she's 30 or something like that. She's like, who's making music for my people? She's like, everyone's just worried about making music for, you know, the kids like on TikTok. But like, it's kind of true, because I find that a lot of people maybe that are later in life are going back to date, like still listening to music from like, you know, 2000s, 90s, just every other era but today. And I think that's because maybe what's being pushed now by labels is just kind of like fast and, you know.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I feel like in general, it's kind of like there's always going to be a direction where I feel most people turn, and fads do come in and out. But I also think that, you know, there are many out there, like you said, many people who maybe want to go the other way. And I'd rather like sometimes entertain that instead of always just going towards, because it becomes almost like a bottleneck. If so many people are going towards that one direction, there's not much room to play there. It's just like, that's what it is. And let's force the agenda because it's temporarily working, and everyone thinks, well, that's it. And so when you have a mass amount of people running in one direction, I kind of find that you'll just, it kind of it muddles the water, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like, I don't know. I think originality, and I'm not saying there's not original songs, or maybe that might work for right now. You know, maybe the whole idea of getting to the chorus sooner, or, you know, people just might like, maybe the old stuff is too long for some people and they want to just get right to it. Again, there's going to be something for everybody. And the great thing about where we live in the, you know, where how media is spread these days and how music is consumed, there's so many different, even TV, if you think about it, how many streaming services do you go through till you find the TV show that you want to end up watching? Netflix, Hulu, Apple. You kind of bounce between all of them. You're like, which one's going to show me what I want? And maybe there's a streaming platform will come out that will suit your needs and the kind of the creative stuff you're after. So I feel like there's going to be something for everybody. I think at the end of the day, you as the artist, though, have to have your own voice, and you have to push your own, because if you just follow the mold, everybody's going to be following the same thing and everyone's going to sound the same. And where's the fun in that?
You have, Asher, you've done some acting in the past. You famously did Broadway when you were a little kid, and you had you know, guest roles on TV shows. But it's been a while. It's been 10 years or so. Now that you've kind of got you've got this little dose of TV exposure, do you have any desire to go back and do episodic TV?
You know, it's funny. I think if you would have asked me this question like 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, nah, I'm good. I'm still doing my music thing and I'm enjoying it. But I feel like maybe because maybe getting this album off my chest has kind of opened some things. You know, I'll see sometimes a movie or a TV show, and it will bring me back to like really enjoying and immersing myself into an acting role. So I won't say I'm putting it completely off the books. I feel like I also don't want to force it. I feel like I'm on this nice balance in my life where everything kind of feels good. I'm doing just enough of everything where I'm not feeling like, if I do it too much, I'm going to fry myself. So that's always my concern, right? When I was doing Fame and I was doing, you know, signed to a major label, and then I was doing all these different things where I was taking different movie projects and trying to do music, it kind of did pull me in 2 different directions. And so that's why I've kind of enjoyed doing really one solid thing and growing with that at my own speed, of course. But to answer your question, I think if the right role came along, and also maybe the right representation again to get me into the right doors, because I don't want to go on just your cattle call auditions anymore. Like, I really want to be seen. I'd also tell them, look, if it's music related projects, I'll go in, you know, or if it's something like, I'll be honest, like the Elvis movie, like stuff like that, really interests me.
You should have been Elvis. They should have just made you Elvis.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been considered for a few, Aladdin and like some of these other ones. And I guess, I don't know, for me, I'd rather use my vocal talent. And again, I don't know what the future holds, right? Who knows?
And I think musical theater is as big as it's been in 50 years. And you could obviously, that's like right down your, you know,
Well, that too,
use
right?
your
That's why I
skill
was
set.
like, if I was in London right now, I would probably be really seeking doing, some show on the West End, because that's something I haven't done, and so I would love to kind of tick that off the box and be able to say,
I grew up doing musical theater. Did musical theater in high school and
Jordan, I didn't know that about
and
you.
community theater. Yeah,
is
it's
this a fun fact that you didn't know?
in my dark past. But I remember we always talk about our dream roles. Like if we could have the dream role, if you could be, the King of Siam, or you could be, whatever at the time. I guess they probably don't do a King of Siam anymore. But do you have a musical theater role that you have in mind, or
Weirdly enough,
role?
it is a show that everybody knows, but now that I'm like, an adult, because a lot of the stuff I grew up doing were like kid roles. I played Oliver, I was Chip and Beauty and the Beast, I was in Sound of Music, I was in all these different shows. And so to be like, the leading man, I've always wanted to play the Phantom.
Well, it's funny because I feel like your album has kind of an Andrew Lloyd Webber vibe.
That's cool. There you go. There is some common thread there, and I think something with that I love that the music from that show. So
yeah,
I know it's been done, right? It's been on Broadway for so long, and so many Phantoms have done it. But maybe there's some spin on it. Maybe there's something that hasn't been done. But I think that would be a fun role to play one day. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you talk about possibly getting back into acting and all this things. There's a different, when you're 21, 22, you're still going out for college roles, for high school roles.
Totally.
Now you're in your 30s. You can play people in your 30s. You can play dads. You can play, professional athletes.
I know.
There's all sorts of different roles that open up in your 30s.
It is so true. That's why you nail something really, really big there, because you're right. I think all the stuff I was being sent out for a long while was like, the cute boyfriend, the neighbor.
You can still play the cute boy.
And you're right. Not that I still can't do that, but I think when you're at a certain age, those are the type of roles that are just available. And now that I'm in a different place in my life and I have life experience under my belt and all these other things that I feel like I can really bring into these roles, I think the meatier parts where I could really play some characters would be really fun to just sink my teeth into something like that. Yeah. Could
you play a villain?
Oh yeah, totally.
That'd be fun, right?
Yeah, for sure. Though it's endless. And I think, it's just having the courage and the guts to jump into that lane, because it's heavy competition. It's like, you're not going to win them all. But at the same time, those few yeses were always the fun part about, doing what I did in my childhood. Was just like, oh man, like all those experiences, all the places I got to go and people I got to work with, it just makes, I don't know, it's a fun. And I think maybe the way I do my music is living in a fantasy world, because we all have reality. We all have some type of mundane reality that we live in, but sometimes it's kind of fun to escape to that different place.
Yeah.
No dads. Okay. I want to know, so you're newly a father, how do we balance this with kind of like also being very in your career right now? You know what I mean? And
believe it or not, I'll answer your question, because I know where you're going with this. Mm-hmm. I think before I had Ellie, I thought, man, this is gonna like cramp my style. This is gonna like get in the way of all my dreams. No, I always wanted kids. I'm always great with kids. It's just that having my own was another thing. I was like, you really have to be ready. And I was like, oh man, I'm just not, I don't know if I'm going to be cut out, for all this, and I won't get to do all the things that I want to do. But that couldn't be farthest from the truth. I think when she came into my world, it gave me not only, and it's, I think a lot of parents can relate to this, but it not only gave me a new meaning and purpose for just living, it actually gave me more drive when I have the time. So it's like I selflessly give myself to my daughter throughout the whole day, right? And she has me all these different times. But the times that, let's say, she goes down for a nap, or she's, the nanny's helping me, or she's with mommy doing something, I am so engrossed in what I'm doing that I'm like, my focus in that time, I have no time for BS. And it's also too, I cut things that I probably would have went on longer with, you know. It's just, you're so much more direct in the things that you want to do. And you just, I don't know, it just brings you to a new level. So I think that false narrative that having kids, you need all these things to have kids and it's going to take away, it's so not true. So I just think she's brought so much meaning and joy and love to my life, and brought me and Diana closer, and all these amazing things that you just don't see. And it's just made my life that much better. So I really have no complaints. But yeah, there's a juggling. It's time management. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's very much time management.
How has having a child, how has it affected your relationship? You mentioned being closer to Diana. First of all, how is Diana as a mom?
Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. She's one of the best. I could not ask for a better mom. She's so hands-on, so fun, so loving, so giving of her time and energy. And it's weird, right? Because when you're with someone, she didn't know how I was going to be as a dad. And I didn't, I mean, I guess I kind of knew because I stepfathered her 2 other children. So I kind of had
you had a run up. You had a ramp
I had a run up a little bit on her. She didn't know of me, but I had a run up of her of like, I know how she works. And I know that she sets up her world very nicely for her kids in a way that's just like, it's like she's been around all the craziness her whole life as well. And her circle of friends that she runs in, but she runs it in a way that she's always like putting her kids first. And I love that, you know, like she doesn't really introduce them to things unless they're at a place or in their life or an age that they've kind of like, it's not so like, I guess I'm just trying to say, you know, like some people that have kids and they grow up in the industry, they're around too much of it. And I feel like she found the balance of not being too sheltered, but not being too exposed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And there's also the balance of, you know, you guys aren't, you know, living in a trailer. You guys are comfortable. Let's put it that way. And so you don't want to spoil your kids, but you also want them to grow up with things.
Well, that's it. You know, for instance, and I'll say this to speak to her, you know, she, you know, if you know a little bit about her story, you know, in terms of, you know, she was a Bosnian war refugee and she escaped the war and the genocide 20 years ago. And so her story is fascinating. I mean, you could write a book and do a movie on it. But the fact is that, you know, I think there's part of that engraved in her kids as well. The fact that there's this heritage, the fact that, you know, her parents, she has amazing parents. Actually, Nano is with us right now in Hawaii. Well, you know, and so it's kind of nice having more of the bloodline with us. But there's just something about the culture there, the people. They're so true-hearted, amazing. Just you can't corrupt a Bosnian, if that's a better way to put it. They're just so awesome, rock star people. And I can't speak highly enough of it. And I've been to Bosnia so many times, and I love it, and I love going back. So I think that's also there. Like the kids, like, you know, for their summers, they'd go back to Bosnia and hang with, you know, friends and you know, Konjic, which is like one of those areas. It's just like a river, and it's just beautiful greenery and nature, and it's just nothing there to really like, you know. So it's having that balance too. They're not just Hollywood kids where they grow up and, you know, there's just around famous people and all the time. It's not like that. You know, of course they have people, you know, that'll stop in and be like, "Whoa, hey." But at the same time, they have a balance. And I think it's all about in life. You just have to kind of find that balance. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the logistics of, you know, because this whole reality show thing is new to you. Was it tough adjusting to having cameras around, to having to like, you have to be here at this time to do this scene, or and you're trying to be a dad and you're trying to do your music? How difficult was it to kind of have that around, to have the crew around, the cameras around?
You know, I think for me, maybe I can't speak for Diana, but for myself, I would say it wasn't too hard. Maybe because I've been around it my whole life. And to me, it's just another facet of the entertainment. Yeah, you're right. I've never done per se reality and opened my life up. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I'm working with a cast. You know, I feel like it's an ensemble and I'm just one of the ensemble, and hey, we're here to work and let's chat and do what we do normally. And oh, there's cameras. Cool. So I don't really ever get to, you know, it doesn't spook me by any way. And I don't act any different. Who I am, probably see on screen is that's really who I am. So I guess there's kind of cool parts about it. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, you know, scrutiny and people that have opinions about what you should say or do or this or that. And that I guess that can weigh on anyone. You know, no human is
like there are articles. The last episode that aired as we're recording this was the Christmas episode where you sang "Oh Holy Night" at a party, and there's like articles about your singing performance and about the way the cast reacted and the way the fans reacted, and I just can't imagine.
They hyper analyze everything.
Oh,
right?
I know. I just can't imagine. By the way, you had a dope suit in that scene. By the way, we'll get a photo of that. That's pretty.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that was a pretty cool rocking suit. I was pretty stoked to. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of been more my like. I don't know. I feel like I'm rocking a lot of these days, like modern 70s. Like I enjoy that type of.
Definitely love the bold color choices.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's who just shot a reality show. I forget where it's coming out, but she's like, it's her first introduction to that. And she's honestly, she's kind of like worried because she wasn't prepared for the certain kind of questions that they were going to ask her and how much she was, just so willing to open up. And then she walked away from the cameras and she was like, wait a second. So how much of yourself do you hold back from the show? And are you conscious of it?
Yeah, I think you were definitely conscious of how much you want to let out. But at the same time, I wouldn't even say Diana or myself are filtering much. It's kind of like,
I feel like you kind of know what you're getting into when you sign up on the show.
Yeah, there's part of it that's just like, you're here for that reason. So you can't be too surprised by the questions they ask you, and nothing's off the books. So if something happens on screen or off screen, people are going to talk about it, whether it's the girls, whether it's the public, whether it's, who named. So you always got to be prepared that something will be brought up, whether it's to praise you or to bring you down. And at the end of the day, I think as long as you're okay with both sides of the coin, because you have to be able to take both, you do have to have kind of a little bit of like thick skin to be able to just be open, like you said, about certain subjects that maybe you wouldn't be so about. But that's, I think, I don't know. I'm finding in this day and age, like people just want to see more real people just talk about things. It's like even Will Smith doing as a public apology, and maybe 10 years ago, no A-list celebrities would never have to do it. Oh yeah.
A few days ago.
I dropped you.
Wait, what did that look like? He like sent a video out?
Yeah, I sent a video out where he's sitting on
his page. Yeah, he like, you can tell he produced it, and he like
control the message. You got to control the message.
Control the narrative. Yeah.
Did it believable to you guys? I haven't seen it yet. I have to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've always been a fan of Will. I'm not, I can't speak on what he did that night, but I'm just saying, like, in general, I think it's good that people have their own platforms that they can speak and like you said, their own narrative. So if any come against any one of us, the fact that we all have our own platforms that we can kind of say, well, that part of this is true and part of that isn't true. The fact that we're able to do that and have those moments nowadays is good. It's a good way to share information. And also, like you said, not let somebody else script your own narrative. You get to do it yourself. So I think,
And the great advantage is, Asher, is that beyond the way fans perceive you or what happens on the show is you've got this whole new bank of people listening to your music that maybe didn't listen to it 6 months ago. So that's a real positive to being on this show.
For sure. I'm not going to say that this is not some type of platform and that it doesn't allow, new people to kind of discover my music, which is awesome. At the end of the day, it's great to show who I am, who we are as a family. And at the same time, bring some light into the world with my music and showcase the positive message that I try to portray and put out to the world. And do it in my, in my way, in my own unique way. So yeah, it's great. It's great that new fans and new people are discovering me, and yeah, it's good.
It must be awesome too to go through this journey with the show with your partner. Like, it's not like it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you guys are together in this, and you have like a tag team partner, and maybe you guys can kind of like call each other out when there's something. You can watch each other and kind of be there. It's kind of,
Yeah, you're right. Where you have a teammate, you have somebody you can kind of rely on. And like you said, when the cameras are off, when they're not rolling, you can talk about things, and she can channel to me whether she likes something or she doesn't like something, and I can tell her the same. And you're right. It's always good in I guess whether it's a relationship or whether it's, like I said, us shooting on the show, having just a team player that you can confide in is always amazing to go through life with and have that. So I guess you can call it a blessing, but yeah.
All right, Asher, we will let you go. Thank you so much for joining us on Real with Jordan Demi.
Yeah.
And enjoy Hawaii. You're in Hawaii right now. We were going to do this in person, and you're
I know. I would have totally done it in person.
Asher's in Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys adapting the show to accommodate me being here. And
of course. And I appreciate we'll get the wide shot. You are wearing a Hawaiian shirt in Hawaii.
That's right. I got to rock it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I know.
Yeah. All right. So the album is out. Real Housewives is out. You're riding high. You're riding this wave. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much.
And we encourage everyone to follow you on social media for more.
Please do. Thank you guys again. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Asher.
All right. See you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. That was Asher Monroe.
Damn, that Hawaiian shirt.
The Hawaiian shirt. Love it. The new album, Windows of Time, is out now. And of course, you can catch Asher on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills on Bravo. That'll do it for us. I'm Jordan. This is Demi. As always, go to popdust.com for our latest episodes and pop culture news and features. And check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, wherever you hear your podcasts. Until next time, we'll see you later.